Hello everybody and welcome to Books with Ike. My name is Isaac and today I'm going to be showing you my birthday book haul. But not just my birthday book haul, because there are some other books that I've got that I haven't hauled yet. Some that I got myself and some that were gifts, and so I'm going to go over those as well. And I know I said this video would be my tier list for every book I read in 2020, but, you know, it's been 2 months since 2020 ended. It's kind of too late to do a video like that now. So, yeah, I'm not going to. I've filmed it, but it will take way too long to edit, so, like, I'm just not gonna post that. I'm sorry if you were waiting for it. But I am gonna post my tier list itself in this video here, so you can see that if you're interested. And so, with that out of the way, let's just get into the books. So, the first books I got were The Demon World and The Burning Kingdoms by Sally Green, which are the second and third books in the Smoke Thieves trilogy. And so, The Smoke Thieves is a YA high fantasy spanning across 3 kingdoms. 2 of them, I think it's Brigant and Calidor, are at war, and so Princess Catherine of Brigant is being married off to the Prince of the Third Kingdom, Pretoria, and meanwhile her bodyguard, Ambrose, is investigating why his sister was executed, and the secrets he uncovers may risk getting him executed as well. And then, meanwhile, in Calidor, there is a boy called March, who is one of the only surviving members of the Abask people, who died in the war between Brigant and Calidor, and he wants revenge against the Prince of Calidor for failing to save his people. And then in Pretoria, there is a bastard called Gideon, who seeks the advice of a fortune teller, and she gives him strange predictions. And then in the north of Pretoria, there is a girl called Tash who helps her adopted father Gravel to hunt demons for their smoke, which is a potent drug. There's a lot going on, and the first book was great, and so I had to buy these 2 immediately. I had, however, heard that Sally Green was a TERF, and so I couldn't find any evidence for this beyond people saying that she follows TERFs on Twitter, but that's not to say that I'm doubting people when they say she is. I just personally couldn't find out why people say that. But because of that, I'm not willing to condemn her completely, but I bought both of these secondhand. So, yeah. Next are some books that I got because one of the Discord servers I'm part of was doing an exchange, and so we were buying books for each other. And the person who sent me stuff was insanely generous and got me 3 things off my wish list. So thank you to them, whoever they are. It was totally anonymous and they didn't tell me afterwards. And so the first book they got me was The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. This is an adult high fantasy. I believe it's about these people who live on ships made of dragon bones, and dragons are like practically extinct, and so there are no more ships being built, but then they receive word that a new dragon has been sighted, and everyone is like rushing to kill it. It sounds really interesting, and I also love the cover. And then they also got me Middle Game by Seanan Mcguire, and this is about these twins called Roger and Dodger, who are created by this alchemist who wants to use them to ascend to godhood. That's all I know about this. It sounds incredible. I read Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan Mcguire and loved it, and I'm excited to get into this. I'm definitely intrigued to see how she does with a full-length novel, because her novellas are so tightly written. And then the last book they got me was Gideon the Ninth by Tamzin Weir. Why is that so hard to say? Tamzin Weir. And all I know about this is the tagline that it's lesbian necromancers in space, and I don't need to know any more than that, honestly. Next I have another couple of books that I got myself. These are ones that were on my save for later list on Abe Books, and then they got bought, and I was like, okay, so I need to buy these as quickly as I can. And so the first of those is The Last of the Wine by Mary Renault. This is a historical fiction set in ancient Greece, and it's queer, and that's all I know, really. I'm sure I read the plot before I added it to my wishlist, but I don't remember what it was. Peloponnesian War? Interesting. Yeah, it's just the life story of the protagonist, really. And then the other one I got was Dead Boys, and I believe it's by Gabrielle Squalia now. I'm pretty sure the author is trans. This is set in the City of the Dead, and it's about these three people who hunt down the only person who has ever cheated the rules of life and death, because they also want to do so. That's really all I know about it, and it sounds really interesting, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Next I have a couple of new releases, which I talked about in my most anticipated books of 2021 video. The first of those is A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is a YA urban fantasy about 4 queer fae teenagers trying to stop a serial killer. And the other is The Shadow War by Lindsay Smith, which is about Jewish and queer kids fighting Nazis in World War II, and also demons. Yes. I completely forgot that I also have another new release, and that is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, the second book in the Last Hours series, which is part of the overall Shadowhunter Chronicles. If somehow you didn't know, the Shadowhunter Chronicles is about half-angelic demon-hunting warriors called Shadowhunters, and the Last Hours is a sequel series to a previous Shadowhunter series called The Infernal Devices, and it follows the children of the characters from that series. So while you can start with the first book of this, Chain of Gold, I would not recommend it. Chain of Gold was set in the early 1900s, and it follows a Shadowhunter called Cordelia Carstairs, who moves to London and attempts to ingratiate herself with powerful Shadowhunters for political reasons. And then, when she arrives in London, a new type of demon appears, which has the ability to walk in daylight and carries a deadly plague. And in this book, there is a serial killer. This will probably be the next book I read. I have this very nice printed hardback edition, which I'm very happy with because it matches my edition of Chain of Gold, and there is a bonus short story in here, which I'm not sure if it's in the regular editions. And finally, we're now on to the books that I actually got for my birthday. And I'm going to start with some sequels. The first of those is Saga Volume 6 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. My brother got this for me. He also got me one of my favourite Marvel comics, The Children's Crusade, but it hasn't arrived yet, and I'm not waiting for it to arrive to do this haul, because I have no idea when it's going to get here. This is a space opera about 2 members of warring races called Marco and Alana, who fall in love and have a kid, and just want to live peacefully outside the war, but everyone else wants them dead. And the rest of the books were from my parents, and the first of those is The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chokshi. This is the sequel to The Gilded Wolves. The Gilded Wolves is a YA historical fantasy about this order called the Order of Babel, who control the magic of the world, which is called forging, and it's supposed to be a gift from God, empowered by Babel fragments, which are the remaining pieces of the Tower of Babel. It's very complicated. There's a guy called Seanan, who is a deposed heir seeking to reclaim his title. There's a girl called Layla who can read the history of objects and has dark secrets. There's a boy called Enrique, who is a historian who wants to be part of a Filipino revolution against Spain. And also a girl called Zofia, who is Severan's engineer, who was kicked out of her school for arson. And there is also Severan's adopted brother, Tristan, and they all get involved in hunting down a powerful magical artifact. And so the first book was great, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. Oh, and I'll talk about the Gilded Wolves in my next wrap-up. And the last sequel I have is The Fateless Hawk by Margaret Owen, and this is the sequel to The Merciful Crow, which I also read very recently and really enjoyed, and we'll talk about in my next wrap-up. This is a YA high fantasy set in a world with a caste system based on different sorts of birds, and the lowest of the low are the crows, who are the only people with an immunity to the sinner's plague, and so they are responsible for taking care of the bodies of plague victims. The first book followed a girl called Fi, who was the daughter of a crow chief, and the crows are called to the royal palace to collect the bodies of the prince and his bodyguard, but it turns out that the prince and his bodyguard are not actually dead. They have faked their deaths in order to flee from assassination attempts, and they want the crows to take them to their allies. And so yeah, the first book was really good, and I can't wait to see how this story ends. And now, moving on to the random books, the first books in series or standalone. And the first of those I have is Prelude for Lost Souls by Helene Dunbar. And I don't remember exactly what this is about. It says on the back, every town has a story. This town has a ghost story. I believe it's about this town, which is like run by mediums, as in people who speak to the dead. And it's like very isolationist. No, it's a tourist trap, okay. But there are like shady dealings going on in the running of the town, and the main character wants to try and leave before the guild, who run the town, can stop him, which sounds very threatening. But then a train which his favourite pianist is on breaks down outside the town, and because of that, all hell breaks loose. Pretty much. I'm very much looking forward to it. Then I have Witchmark by C.L. Polk. This is a high fantasy set in a sort of Edwardian-inspired setting with a world war and all, and it's an MM romance, and that's all I know about it, and that's all I want to know about it. It's very popular, it's very highly regarded, so I want to give it a go. Next I have Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton, and this is a YA urban fantasy, I'm fairly sure, about a village which has a pact with the devil. To ensure their prosperity, when the slaughter moon rises, the village must sacrifice a young man to the depths of the devil's forest. I'm fairly sure the only thing I know about this is a spoiler, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. But Tessa Gratton, I'm fairly sure, is a good friend of Maggie Stiefvater, and so if her writing is anything similar, I'm sure I'm going to love this. And then I have The Court of Broken Knives by Anna Smith Spark. This is supposed to be on the grim darkest end of fantasy, so I'm interested to see how I will feel about that. It's about this band of mercenaries who is hired to assassinate the emperor of the city of, what's it called, Sorlost? Yeah. And one of the assassins has a great destiny. A great and terrible destiny, in fact. I've read a couple of pages of this, and the writing style, I'm not a fan of it so far. But I'm hoping that's just a quirk of the introductory chapters, and the rest is written in a less abstract way, let's say. But yeah, I'm very intrigued about this. Next I have Chameleon Moon by Roanna Silva, and I'm just gonna read the first paragraph of the synopsis for this, because I think that's all you need to know. The city of Parole is burning. Like Venice slips into the sea, Parole crumbles into fire. The entire population inside has been quarantined, cut off from the rest of the world, and left to die, directly over the open flame. Eye in the sky, a deadly and merciless police force ensures no one escapes. Ever. All that's keeping Parole alive is faith in the midst of horrors and death, trust in the face of desperation, and their fantastic, terrifying, and beautiful superhuman abilities. So yeah, big dystopian vibes, but also very fantasy. It's very cool, and it's also super queer. And in case I haven't mentioned it before, everything I've talked about so far is queer. Well, not everything, but almost everything. I also have a big darling of the book world at the moment, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And I'm sure you don't need me to tell you what this is about, but it's an adult romance about this caseworker called Linus, who investigates orphanages of children with magical abilities, and he is sent to this orphanage in the middle of the Cerulean Sea, which has children who are supposed to have powers that are so dangerous that they might end the world, and he is sent to assess whether that will happen. I honestly didn't really want to read this at first, but then everyone was loving it. And so I added it to my TBR, and then I added it to the top of my TBR, and now I have it. So I think I'll probably read this quite soon as well. Oh, and it's an MM romance. And I am so annoyed. Why have they done this? Why? I hate marketing. I hate it so much. I hate marketing in the publishing industry because it ruins book covers. This is fairly unobtrusive compared to like a big sticker in the middle, but it's still so annoying. Just let a cover stand on its own, for God's sake, and if you must advertise it, put a sticker on it, like a sticker that you can actually remove. Don't print something on the book. No one cares. No one who reads books cares. Sorry, got a little heated there. And finally, the last book I have is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Now, this is not the These Violent Delights I wanted. I wanted the queer dark academia one by Micah Nemereva, but I wanted this as well, so I'm not that disappointed in it. If somehow you didn't know, despite how popular this is a YA fantasy which is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920 Shanghai. And there's a plague and a monster, and that's all I know, and that's all I need to know. It sounds very interesting, so I can't wait to read it. I'm not even going to attempt to pick this stack up. So yeah, that was my birthday book haul, plus all the books that I got for myself after Christmas, and before my birthday. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear what you thought about them, so please leave that in the comments below. And also tell me about any books that you've obtained recently. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter or add me as a friend on Goodreads if you feel like it, links to both of those in the description. And I will hopefully have another video up soon. It should be my January and February wrap-up. But until then, thank you for watching. I've been Isaac and this has been Books with Ike. Goodbye.